Welcome back to another episode of One on One. I'm your host, Mitch Lafon. Of course, brought to you by the Heavy Montreal Festival, taking place August 9th and 10th in Parc Jean Drapeau, featuring Metallica, Slayer, Offspring, Lamb of God. This week, I've got my two co-hosts with me from the Killer Dwarfs, Russ Dwarf, and from Talking Metal, Mr. Mark Strigl. Good day, gentlemen.
Good day, how are you?
Good. So, we've got a fun-filled show today. We've got our secret sentence to give away tickets to Heavy Montreal in this episode. And we've got John 5 of Rob Zombie's band. Anybody have some opinions about Mr. John 5?
Yeah, I like John 5. I saw one of the few shows he did with Rob Halford when they had the band together called Two in New York. And it was kind of a crazy show because Tony Iommi was supposed to be a part of the show and then never showed up. So the place got a little upset at the show because it was right on the ticket. It was like Two with special guest Tony Iommi, and Tony Iommi never showed up. But they did play some Sabbath stuff at the end in honor of Tony not showing up. But John is just a phenomenal guitar player and has played with so many people. And I think he's definitely an exciting figure in today's rock scene.
Yeah, he really is. And I also like the fact that he has played with Paul Stanley on Paul's last album, Live to Win. Wrote a song with him, which is always exciting. Any Kiss connection is exciting. Right, Russ?
Yes, and he's also played with Robin Zander. This guy has a massive resume. He's played with everybody. It's incredible.
Yeah.
From K.D. Lang to, Ozzy, you name it. He's all over the map. This guy's like classic talent.
Well, if you listen to the interview, as being a Canadian, I had to ask him about the K.D. Lang connection, and he has some absolutely great stories and great memories of that. And, Mark mentioned the Two Voyeurs album, which is the Rob Halford solo project. His memories aren't so cheerful about that album, actually. Apparently, it got remixed and redone and stripped into a way that didn't really suit him. But, take a listen to the interview and let John describe that. But there's even bigger news in this interview. He talks about David Lee Roth. Of course, he played with David Lee Roth, but there's something special that he's going to mention about David Lee Roth in this one. Boys, should we just take a listen?
Absolutely.
Yes. Let it rip.
We're here with John 5, and we're talking about Careful with That Axe, your new album.
Yes.
Let me just ask you the simple question: What motivates you to make a solo album?
Well, I love the guitar. It's purely for the love of the guitar and the love of guitar music. And if anybody knows me, I always have a guitar in my hand, and I just always do this. So it's kind of just for my own pleasure and enjoyment to do something like this, and to exercise my mind and try to push the limits as much as possible. Of course, I don't do it for the money or anything like that. It's just for the pure love of the instrument and the music.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, I've listened to the album because I've had an advance on it. A lot of the stuff that I hear would actually fit in to your current band situation with Rob Zombie. How do you decide what goes for, the John 5 pile and what goes into the Rob Zombie pile?
Well, I would say, there's so much going on. There's it's this crazy guitar stuff, and I think there's some similarities, but it's mostly just crazy guitar music, and I know where that's going to go. So with the zombie stuff, there's a lot of room for vocal and melody, obviously.
Right.
So, the last thing I would want to do is show him one of these songs for, hey, Rob, I got this idea. It starts out with this really cool guitar solo, so I don't think that would fly very well. He might put it into the show for a guitar solo, but that's about it.
Yeah, now you're also scoring his next movie.
Yes, his next movie is called 31, and I'm going to actually score it with Rob, which is going to be really fun. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. You know, I did the Lords of Salem, and that came out great. So we're just going to continue on doing what we're doing, and you know, really looking forward to it. It's incredible to see Rob make these movies. I just like, it's like if, you know, your friend that you've known for so long has this other incredible ability to make movies. It's like shocking to see him, you know, do this stuff because it's so foreign to me.
What's the process for scoring a movie as opposed to making a solo album like Careful with That Axe? Because you have to connect the music to the visual. How do you approach both kinds of projects?
Well, with the scoring, you know, sometimes there's, you know, no time signature, or sometimes not even a key signature. So, and it depends on the scene. So it's, you know, a lot of, you know, music that is, you know, just ambience, but, you know, you need a very, very, very strong theme. Whenever I do any scoring, I want like a very strong theme, very simple, that will, you know, people will remember, like Jaws, or, you know, even like Creature from the Black Lagoon. They use these 3 notes, and Creature from the Black Lagoon, they used it over 100 times in the movie, you know, and I just always appreciate something like that. So it is really difficult to score a movie. It's because you're kind of like just making sure this music fits with this certain scene. So it is challenging.
Yeah, it really is. The Careful with That Axe, will that lead to a tour? Will you go out and do sort of some guitar shows?
That's a great question. What I'm doing, because people have always asked that, and I'm so busy. So all those songs on that record were recorded live. I have this great band, you know, Roger Carter on drums and Matt Bissonette on bass. What I'm doing this time around is I'm going to do my first ever streaming concert. So there's going to be one for America and Canada, and another show for Europe, and another show for the Pacific Rim. And it's going to be in October. It's going to be, I think, October 18th is when it's going to be streaming. And it is going to be the guys from The Tonight Show, Jay Leno Tonight Show, who worked on that for 20, 25 years, are putting it together. And it's going to be, you know, hosted. I haven't figured out who I'm going to have host it yet, but, you know, some cool guitar player, and they're going to, you know, people can call in and ask questions, and I'm going to play all those songs on the record, you know, right there. So it's going to be this really cool concert.
That's actually kind of interesting. Free concert.
Free concerts, yeah.
Does that lead to eventually you're going to take that video and audio and turn it into a DVD or some kind of download that they can purchase at a later date?
Well, I don't know. We haven't gotten that far, but what I know for sure, for a fact, is that it will be a concert that people can watch and appreciate. You know, it's going to be really cool. I'm so looking forward to it because I love playing this stuff live. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is, and it actually is a great listen. If you don't mind, I'm just going to go back into your past for a second. You worked with Rob Halford of Judas Priest fame on an album called Voyeurs with the band 2. In Rob's career, that was sort of a controversial album and got a whole bunch of, you know, interesting reviews, for the lack of a better word. Tell me a little bit about that album and what you were trying to do.
Well, here's what's you know, really cool. People love that record. You know, they love that record now. When we were making that record, it was a very, very, very guitar-heavy record. Very heavy guitar record. And I remember Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine heard it, and he was like, this is my favorite record. This is incredible, because it was really aggressive and heavy and had, you know, Halford going nuts on it. And we got signed to Nothing Records, you know, Trent Reznor's label. And then I, you know, was still, you know, making money and stuff, so I had to go on tour with somebody, and Halford took it to New Orleans with Trent, and it totally changed. Like, they took a lot of the guitars out. This is at the time when guitars weren't really that popular, and they took a lot of these guitars out. So the record completely changed. I was shocked. But
disappointed or just shocked?
Shocked and disappointed, because all the guitars were taken off. But the songs, what was so strong about that album is those songs were so strong. They're such strong songs that it still holds up today, and people really enjoy that record. Halford has the songs with the guitars and all that stuff, and it sounds incredible.
That actually would be interesting then, to have them release sort of a, kind of like what the Beatles did years ago, with sort of a stripped down kind of version, or an unpolished version, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, this would be an aggressive version. It's really cool.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk to you about is you've had a chance to work with a couple of the guys in Kiss, most recently with Peter Criss coming on to play God of Thunder. How was that experience? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were a big Kiss fan, right?
Massive, massive, massive Kiss fan ever since I could, remember. And, I'm very close with all the guys, which is, very surprising to think about. Right, because they're
not close with each other.
Yeah, and I'm really close. I know Paul really well, and I know Ace really well, and Gene, and Peter, and I'm really close with Peter. I talk to Peter all the time. Right. And we're playing in New Jersey, and I said, Rob was like, we always mess around at rehearsal, and we were playing God of Thunder, and I said, we should get Peter Criss, to play. And Rob was like, yeah, let's get Peter, and stuff. And so Peter said, sure, I'll play God of Thunder. And the thing is, what was cool about that is we never even rehearsed with Peter. Right. The first time that we ever played with Peter was on that stage, and it came out great. And he's just such a great, great guy. He's one of my great friends, and I just, speak with him all the time and see him all the time. I'm very, very happy. He's such a great person.
As a Kiss fan myself, it was interesting to see Peter perform it with you. But the other thing that was interesting is that for years Rob had sworn off playing God of Thunder because there had been some legal stuff years and years ago. Did he have any trepidation in getting in there and playing that song? Did he say, "Ooh, no, I had boycotted that for a while," or was he like, "Yeah, let's do it"?
Yeah, no, it was Rob's idea. So okay. I don't know anything about that at all. What you said, I've never heard of anything about that, but it's interesting because Rob was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do God of Thunder." So, and I'll tell you, man, what was so it was so great to have Peter playing drums, but Rob sounded incredible on those vocals. I was like, God, geez, listen to him. Yeah. It's incredible. He sounded amazing.
Yeah, chalk that one up for our next album, the Japanese bonus track or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. It was, what a great night it was. Yeah.
And so, let me get back here to just again to Kiss. You also worked with Paul Stanley on Live to Win. You've worked with a lot of great vocalists over the year. Obviously, Rob Halford, David Lee Roth, Sebastian Bach, and others. Tell me a little bit about working with Paul and how that was.
It was great. I've known Paul forever, and Paul said, "Hey, I'm going to write some songs for my new record. Why don't you come over?" And I was like, cool. And I wrote with Desmond Child, who, also wrote like I Was Made for Loving You mm-hmm. and stuff like that. So I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And it was really cool to do that because I was in the studio with Paul and, we were cutting these songs and I was doing, background rhythm with him and stuff. It was just such a great experience because, these guys were my heroes. I used to think when I was little, like, they weren't even real people, I just thought they were just these, like, monsters, and it's just so, I'm just very honored to have, worked with these guys. And, I did something with Ace for his DVD, And,
Which one?
He had this DVD come out on his last record, Anomaly.
Okay.
And I did this I think I played Shock Me and Cold Gin with him.
Oh, very
you
cool.
can see it online or something like that. So really cool,
Yeah. Now let me go back to the album for a second. Careful with that axe. And also connecting here with all these vocalists. Have you ever thought of making an album where you call up all these vocalists that you know and say, "Hey, let's put together 10 songs and have a different vocalist on each song"?
Not really, just because,
No.
I have a vocalist, and which is Zombie, and
Right.
I'm so busy, and I'm so happy to be so busy. I mean, I'm in Barcelona right now. We're doing all these festivals, and this is just such a perfect situation because I get to, play my instrumental stuff and, tour the world, with Rob, and it's just, life. It couldn't be much better than this, I'm really, really happy about it. And Rob's very supportive of the instrumental stuff. It's great,
Yeah. Also, I'm in Montreal, and so as a Canadian, I know you've worked with K.D. Lang.
Oh yeah, the best.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about working with K.D., but also tell me a little bit about working in all these different genres. I mean, Paul does not do what Rob Zombie does. Rob Zombie does not do what Marilyn Manson does. Marilyn doesn't do what David does, David Lee Roth.
Right.
How do you adapt your style to all these different musical situations?
And there's so many other styles. I mean,
and K.D. Lang is obviously none of those styles, right?
And Rod Stewart and Leonard Skinner and all these other people. And on my instrumental record,
Absolutely.
Jerry Reed and all this stuff. So, but working with K.D., it was like my first real tour.
Absolutely.
And it was, 96, 97. And, they're private planes. Mm-hmm. And we had a chef. And we had a masseuse. And we were playing 3 nights at Radio City Music Hall. And we were playing the Opera House in Sydney, Australia, and there were parties with Madonna and Peter Gabriel and all these people, and this was my first tour.
Eye-opening, I guess, right?
I'm sorry?
It must have been very eye-opening for you.
Yes, it was. It was incredible. And we didn't have to, do anything. We didn't have to, hardly do anything. Everything was done for us, our laundry and our getting our suitcases to the airplane, everything, So then after that tour, I was like, well, wait a minute, where's the private plane? And where's the chef? And, well, I want a massage. And what do you mean I got to carry my bags up these stairs, So I was very spoiled on my very first tour. But it was incredible. What a voice on K.D. It was like such an amazing time to be. And Larry Campbell, who was a multi-instrumentalist on the tour, is someone who really inspired me in my life to start, really going forth with the country stuff of my playing. And so it was a very important time for my life, was that tour. It really was a life-changing experience,
Do you keep in touch with K.D. at all?
I don't. I would love to. I don't even know how I could get a hold of her, but I would love to. I haven't seen her or spoke to her in so long, but I miss her. I'd love to say hello because we were really close. On that tour, it was really a great time.
And then, if I can, because I can see we're running out of time, can I just get a couple of quotes about working with David Lee Roth? I mean, for me, growing up in the '70s, sort of Paul Stanley and David Lee Roth were sort of the two biggest rock icons. Is Dave as weird as everybody says he is?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He's super smart, and he's really, really, really smart. We made a record.
DLR Band.
We made DLR Band, but we just made another record, and it's like the California Sessions, he was calling it. And it's 11 of the greatest songs you'll ever hear, and it's just me and Dave, and we had Greg Bissonette play drums on it, and it's unbelievable. There's a song called Somewhere Over the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and just great great songs, and hopefully sometimes it'll see the light of day. But he's of course busy with Van Halen and all that stuff. But it's an incredible record, so I still talk to Dave.
Just curious, when was that made? Sorry to cut you off, by the way. When was that album made?
That was made not too long ago, like probably, maybe a year and a half ago or something like that. Yeah, not too long ago. Because I always go over to his house and we write music and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. Okay,
so let me. You threw me off. I didn't know there was a sort of secret album that had been made. So it was sort of cover songs and
no.
Oh.
They're all originals. They're all original songs. And, I would just go over to his house during the day and write this music, and then he would book the studio at night. So we would go into A&M Studios, Henson Studios it's called now, and we'd record. And it's so great. I mean, it sounds like, just old, just Dave from like that Van Halen 1 or 2 or Women and Children First era, singing, and it's incredible, man. It's really incredible. Wow. He loves it too, so maybe it'll see the light of day sometime.
Oh, I absolutely hope so. I mean, more Dave is always a good thing, and anything that you play guitar on is always a great thing. I mean, you're just one of the best. As the time runs out here, any last words on "Careful with That Axe"?
Yeah, it's I think a guitar player's dream. It just has everything in there, and the title, even means like, when you get a guitar, as you're a young kid, who knows where it's going to take you? It could bring you success, or it could bring you sadness, but that's what the title means. And then a lot of the titles, like
we need to talk about John. This is my rifle.
Yeah, like, Portrait of Sidney Sloan and Feliska, those are all axe murder, situations, if you Google it.
Well, I have taken the time to look into some of your lyrics and stuff, and you do have a lot of connections to mass murders and murderers and stuff. Sometimes it's I don't know how to take that, actually. Is that sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing? Is that like, oh boy, this is sort of crazy? I mean,
it's what it is I don't wish harm on anyone. I can't
absolutely
even, step on an ant.
And I'm not suggesting that, of course.
Yeah, what is so interesting to me about this is how people can do this and it doesn't even raise their blood pressure, or it doesn't even affect them at all. So it's just crazy to think that people can do something like that, So it is interesting. That's why we, all the movies we see, have someone with a gun or an axe or a knife or something like that, and it's entertainment.
True. I've always argued, though, that when they stuck it in a Shakespeare book and people were getting murdered, they considered a must-read for high schools. So it's not something really new, this concept of murder for entertainment.
Right. No, it's been around since the beginning of man.
Yeah, and we've never really questioned ourselves about it and say, what are we doing here? But
right.
Shakespeare's required reading, full of murder, and what are you going to do?
Right. What are you going to do? You're going to put out a record called Careful with That Axe.
There you go. And, of course, we're going to encourage people to go buy it. And, of course, we're going to encourage people to go to John-5, just the actual sign there, .com, and check out everything else. John, always a pleasure.
And then get ready for that streaming concert in October.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it going to be around Halloween, or is it just, or do we know the date yet?
I think it's going to be October 18th.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. And, listen, if you want to do another interview around that time to talk it up, I'll be more than happy to. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Take care.
Have a good day.
What you guys just heard was Mitch's interview with John 5. Mitch, massive news. John 5 doing another record with David Lee Roth. Wow.
Yeah, they spent the last year putting together these songs. And, hopefully it's going to come out as a record soon. I know John, as you heard him say, he would love to have it be released. And what's interesting is Van Halen is supposed to be making a new record, and yet David's busy making records with John 5.
Seems like Dave is just a crazy workaholic, always doing something.
Yeah.
You gotta love David Lee Roth. He's the ultimate entertainer, Mr. Show Business, the Al Jolson of our time.
Wait a minute. That's a very old reference there. Mark and I are a bit younger, Russ.
Yeah, well, you kids can goggle it later then.
Now, of course, John was, of course, here to talk to us about his album, Careful with That Axe. Speaking of albums, the next one that we're going to talk about is Furiosity by Monster Truck. And we spoke with guitarist Jeremy Widerman, a great Canadian band. They will be playing at the Heavy Montreal Festival, taking place August 9th and 10th at Parc Jean Drapeau, with Metallica, Slayer, Lamb of God, and of course, Monster Truck. The great thing about this interview is that Jeremy and I have a secret sentence that Jeremy is going to say. And if you take that sentence and write it down and send it to me or send it to us on the Facebook page, a lucky winner will be chosen for a pair of tickets to the Heavy Montreal Festival. Of course, only the tickets, transportation and all that other stuff, all the other expenses are up to the winner, but at least you get the 2 pairs of tickets. It's going to be kind of exciting.
That sounds like a fun event for sure.
It does.
And Monster Truck, the Canadian boys from Hamilton, Ontario. They
Yes.
also won a Juno in 2013.
The other exciting thing is Skid Row's coming to Montreal August 19th, and I've got an interview with Rachel Bolan coming up, which also will have a secret sentence where people can listen for it, write in, and win a pair of tickets to that show in Montreal August 19th at the Corona Theatre. Mark, do you know anything about Monster Truck?
I'm not really that familiar with Monster Truck, so I'm looking forward to checking this interview out and going to iTunes and checking some of their music out too.
Yeah, I would go even further. I would go check out that album, Furiosity. I have to say, they're a band that I discovered opening up for Buck Cherry.
Okay.
And, listen, opening bands for the most part are annoying, kind of like drum solos and guitar solos. And Monster Truck were just so fantastic. They're really, their live show beats out the albums, beats out the videos, beats out anything. You've got to see Monster Truck live. It's an experience. They really know how to work the stage, and it's just great music for a live stage. It really, really is. And so let's hope that they have a very bright future in Canadian rock. But why don't we
What kind of music is it? What kind of music what style of music would you call it?
Well, it's somewhere between sort of old AC/DC meets stoner rock meets sort of the classic heavy arena rock of the 70s. It's like if you took Van Halen, Alice Cooper, AC/DC, some of your best stoner rock, etc., threw it all in a blender, and it came out with a bit of a Canadian twist. And
It's Monster Rock.
Monster Rock.
Monster Rock for a Monster Truck.
That's right.
They've got a great buzz going though here. They're really and they've only been together since 2010. But you're hearing their name everywhere.
Yeah, you really are.
Which if you're hearing your name in Canada, you know something's happening.
Yeah,
cool.
That's sort of the barometer. Is if you keep hearing a name, you go, oh, they must have a buzz going on. But listen, they've been on they're going on tour with Slash in Europe this fall. They've been on tour with Buck Cherry. They're doing the Heavy Montreal Festival, and they're coming back to Montreal at some other point this year. And I forget who it's with, but they just keep getting on tour after tour after tour. So they're really building it old school by picking up any tour. Very familiar.
Bringing it to the people.
Yeah. Hey, someday maybe they'll be on a bill with the Killer Dwarfs, or is that too high to hope?
Oh, you never know, Mitch. Anything's possible.
Will you allow it, Russ?
Oh, of course I would. I love these young bands that are carrying the rock torch. It's awesome. It's a great thing. Rock is not dead.
It never is. Here we go. So listen to Jeremy Weiderman talk about Furiosity, Monster Truck, and The Secret Sentence. We are speaking with Jeremy Weiderman of Canadian band Monster Truck. How are you doing today, Jeremy?
I'm doing pretty good. I got a rare day off, so I'm enjoying it.
I know. Being a new band, you got to work pretty much 24/7 all the time.
Yeah, well, actually, I guess that's not entirely true because I got about 3 different email windows open in the background here waiting for responses.
Ha. Um, you know, I gotta say, I first learned of Monster Truck when you came through Montreal with the band Buck Cherry, and what impressed me was your live show. So much so that I went straight to the merch booth and I bought the Furiosity CD. How important is the live show for the band?
To me, I think it's paramount. And I mean, in all honesty, that's kind of the product that we're selling, first and foremost. Everything else is kind of a secondary or tertiary, extension of the live show because of the way things work nowadays with, as far as the music industry and
Right.
and revenue. To us, that is what everything that we do, business wise or creatively, it's all is designed to support that initial concert ticket.
Yeah, now you're coming to Montreal 2 more times this year, as far as I can tell. The next one is on August 9th and 10th. You're coming to the Heavy Montreal Festival.
Yes.
You looking forward to playing that?
Yeah, it should be good. I'm not a huge fan of the whole festival scene. This one in particular is somewhat of a special one just because of the caliber of bands that we'll be sharing the stage with. But for the most part, it's somewhat of a means to an end in a lot of ways. I think just to get us in front of people that have never seen the band before.
Right.
And again, to share the stage with other larger and more known acts. I mean, especially in those situations too, you end up meeting a lot of new friends and kind of connecting with a bunch of bands that you either look up to or have wanted to play with in the past. So it's good for those reasons. But at the end of the day, I really do like the focused, headliner opener type, standard concert situation, which we're a lot more
adept at.
Yeah, we do a lot more of. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got Metallica and Slayer and Lamb of God. They're going to be you're going to be exposed to their fan base, which is, you've got to be thrilled about that. That's a good way to pick up new fans.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, the other thing that you're doing in the fall, just to get away from Montreal for a second, you're going on tour with Slash.
Yes.
How did you land that? And have you been over to the UK before?
Yeah, we've been twice in the last year. And again, this is something that's just another opportunity that built on relationships and past tours that we've had with Slash in Canada and the U.S. and with Miles when he with Slash and with Alter Bridge in the last year or two. And yeah, I guess I think we've made a pretty good impression on both camps, and whenever they get the opportunity and whenever it makes sense logistically, they like to have us out, and we couldn't be happier about that, really. I mean, we've gotten a really good I think the last time we spoke, we had just gotten back from our first Europe and UK trip,
right,
opening for Vistacino, and since then we've gone back and done a headline run in the UK and in Europe, and that was very surprising to us to see how much momentum we had gained from that first tour, and through the kind of the word of mouth spreading from the first time we'd been there, and some more album sales. So we can't wait to get back. It's really been encouraging to see how quickly things have turned into being successful for us over there.
Well, I think it really goes back to what we just said before. It's the quality of your live show. I hadn't heard of the band before, and now I'm looking forward to hearing the band and seeing the band. Just by that 45-minute presentation of you live, there was just so much energy and so much drive and so much determination. It was absolutely brilliant. I mean, truly brilliant. Let me talk about your first album, or the last album, I should say. Furiosity came out over a year ago now, 2013. What are the current plans for the next record?
Well, right now we're already, playing one of the new songs at our live show. We've been trying to integrate some more as fast as we can, because we really do like to get the new songs out into the public, and it really is a good way to test out the music for ourselves, to see how we feel about it when we play it live and how people are reacting to it. We're definitely in the writing process right now, putting as much time as we can towards writing new material. We're going to get a couple more gaps coming up once we finish a couple, little clusters of shows here in the next week. And yeah, we're really trying to just have all that material ready to go for the fall to start pre-production and hopefully, do the bulk or all of the tracking over the wintertime and, hopefully do like a 2-year album cycle where we release, somewhere around May of next year, which would make it exactly 2 years since Furiosity came out.
Yeah. Now, is there any kind of development in the sound? Have you noticed stuff playing live that you go, oh yeah, we want to move more in a hard rock direction, or is it sort of like just the monster truck sound?
Well, first and foremost, we don't ever really discuss it or, make any kind of like conscious, decision on which direction we want to go. Through the natural evolution of our own songwriting process, I think that things are going to change a little bit naturally, just the way they always do. To us, I think internally we felt like there was a pretty big shift from the Brown EP to Furiosity, but I think the major feeling for most people on the outside is that it's just more of the same with a couple little curveballs thrown in. So it's really hard to judge from our perspective. I know that we're definitely going to have some of that. Some of those curveballs are definitely going to be there. We're always trying. We're always like the challenge, and we always like to, to try new things. But at the same time, we know we've built a solid foundation on a specific sound, and it's the sound that we chose and that we love. So we're definitely not going to deviate from that either. So it's going to be more of the same and more of, by definition of saying more of the same, it'll be
kick-ass rock and roll.
It'll be kick-ass rock and roll and more of the same of us pushing forward with other ideas and different songs.
That's perfect. Now, Furiosity had some involvement from the Canadian government. Explain to me exactly what the involvement was. You got a grant, or what was it?
The involvement of who?
The Canadian government?
Oh, okay, yeah, right, because of the logo on the back of the CD. I don't know. I think the majority of the involvement really comes from the label end. I think that Dynalone Records is pretty tapped into the government grant revenue stream, and I think that due to that reason alone, we have to put the logo on there, because it's just a situation where they're receiving grant money for all kinds of things, and we're just under the umbrella of that. So we definitely didn't receive any factor funding for the actual record.
Okay.
Because we did a bunch of the recording in the U.S., and I think it was also because it was our second attempt at recording the record. I think we might have. I really don't know. It's a really hard question for me to answer because this was one record that we didn't pay for ourselves. Like we recorded the Brown EP on our own dime, and we recorded the one before that on our own dime, and this one was one that was solely done under the umbrella of Dynalone Records. So the way that the process of payment and budgeting was slightly out of our hands, which is actually something that we're gonna reinvestigate on the next album.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe the question should be then how important is it to have sort of those Canadian content rules, or CanCon rules, or support like Factor in developing a Canadian band?
Well, from our perspective, and it's hard to speak on the other ones because we haven't really been a part of it yet, from the touring aspect, we have definitely benefited massively from the different support systems that are in place in Canada for allowing us to subsidize the cost of touring overseas, which is something that I'm not even sure that we would have been able to do from a financial standpoint last year when we did these tours without the support of we're tied into Star Maker. And I know that there's definitely some Factor funded stuff, whether it's label side or actually direct on the band side. But we have definitely benefited, and most importantly, the ability to travel overseas and travel into the United States, and kind of break the band in those areas, which is something that can be hugely expensive and has been heavily subsidized by grant money.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is because every year governments look at budgets and where can they cut and what can they save on, and the arts always seems to be one of them. They go, well, people don't need arts, and we're going to cut here and there. If the government or had cut the budgets and hadn't had this, Monster Truck basically would be a Hamilton, Ontario band, right? I mean, that would be it.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
We would definitely have a lot of what we've achieved in Canada has been done Again, I now I'm backpedaling because I'm thinking about this. I don't know how much of the money that was used for radio promotion came from Factor. Again, all that comes under the umbrella of Dynalone Records.
Right.
It would be a better question to ask Joel or Trisha in the office about how much
how that works.
Yeah, but like how much of the money comes from City and Color, and how much of the money comes from Factor, and how much of the money comes from the Sheepdogs, and I don't really know. They again, this is on a side note, somewhat of a testament to the work that they've done on their end as far as allocating different funds, whether it's from Factor or otherwise, in a way to help push our band to that level, because everything that we've done really has come from the support of radio. And the touring that we've done around that to get the band name out in Canada and give us the kind of clout to be able to expand into other areas. And again, I think it's a big stew of money and effort and hard work and time and I don't know where one begins and the other ends. It's hard to say.
It's definitely good to see, though.
Yeah, I like to think that the band would be doing something. Maybe on a lower scale,
right,
without the funding, just based on the fact that we give the music away for free, and we've always had people picking up on that from other countries and far away, and it definitely wouldn't reach as far, and it wouldn't be as widespread as it is now without the help that we've had from all angles. But the band has always had that kind of somewhat of a DIY mentality and always made sure that our music is available to people that want it. And it's definitely something that's always assisted us in getting into those other areas, as well as, the major pushes from media and label side. Absolutely.
In 2013, you won the Juno Award, which is sort of the Canadian Grammy Award for the Breakthrough Group of the Year. Was that a shock? Or were you sort of like, hey, this one's in the pocket, we got it?
I'd say it's somewhere equal to the shock of us losing the Rock Album of the Year this year. They're kind of in the same ballpark. And honestly, after doing the two years of nominations and having an unexpected win and an unexpected loss, it's kind of sullied the importance of the Junos to me in a way, because I don't really think we deserved Breakthrough Group of the year we won it, and I do think we deserved the Rock Album of the year we lost it.
Let's just finish up with the two video games that you were a part of, the NHL on EA Sports 2013 and the Ubisoft Rocksmith 2014.
Sure.
In the old days, I guess, to promote a band, you threw a video up on MTV and you got it over to radio. Now with the internet and the social media, bands have to be more creative. Was this part of being more creative and just trying to reach a larger audience?
Definitely. I mean, the NHL thing was more of a fanboy situation where I just happened to love that series. I've been playing that game since I was 13 years old, and I approached our label about attempting to get us into the game, and that was how that resulted. And the Rocksmith thing, I think they approached us, but I think that's a perfect song to have in that game, especially for beginner to intermediates, because it's the kind of song that you can kind of play the basic roots of the song and really feel like you're playing the song. You don't need to you don't need to play the solo or the more kind of intricate vibrato parts to really feel like you're playing that song. And the basics of that song are very simple. And I like the idea of, young musicians or aspiring, rock fans to be able to play along to the music and really, get involved with it in that, on that side, because that's how it started for me. That was really how when I got started with the guitar, it was really about just being able to play the songs that I loved. I didn't really have any further aspirations other than that. So to think that our music is being implemented in that way for younger musicians or even older musicians who are starting out and using our song as a jumping point to do that is very encouraging and very inspiring.
Do you know how effective it's been in creating new fans? Has anybody come up to you and said, hey, I heard your song on X video game and had to check you out? Or is it just, it is what it is?
You see it from the social media perspective. You see it on YouTube specifically. Either people play, video of people playing along to the song while playing the game, or people just doing playthroughs of different songs, or people posting on the videos that we have on YouTube, whether they say NHL, NHL I think it was, I can't remember, it was 12 or 13.
13.
13. NHL 13 brought me here, or Rocksmith brought me here, or there's a couple other, I think we're in the new UFC game.
Yeah.
And, you know, that game brought me here. And that, you know, again, that's all part of the big, you know, the big conglomerate of ideas to try and spread the band outwardly. But it's a good thing. And, I mean, I play a lot of video games myself, and it's something I'm always pushing for because, you know, I always like to see our music implemented in that way because I think it's great music for those type of games.
Really is. Now, you're out in Hamilton. Does that make you a Toronto Maple Leafs fan?
No, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan.
Oh, thank God. Okay, good. We're speaking the same language. I'm a Habs fan too, so good.
Well, not to take the wind out of your sails, the other two members of our band are Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
That's why we're not talking to them today.
Yeah, well, I honestly, man, I'm such a hockey fan. I really just like to watch hockey, and I'm a huge Habs fan. It was nice to see them get to the conference final. Right. But at the end of the day, I'm sad for Toronto Maple Leafs fans in a way because I don't think it's fair that such a passionate fan base gets robbed so consistently every year with the caliber of the team that they've had for the last decade, and it's regardless of whether we're bitter rivals. I hate to see hockey fans suffer due to bad management and bad planning. So I'm actually hoping to see an improvement from them this year, just for the sake of the people that I know care about that team.
Well, yeah, except it's been 47 years of sucking wind for the Leafs, so you know.
Well, it hasn't, you know, all 47 years haven't been nearly as bad as the last few. So.
Well, I derived great pleasure in watching them not make the playoffs. But, hey,
well,
you know, I would much rather root for the Ottawa Senators or
God, no.
But it's all go Habs go. Now, for Heavy Montreal, I have a pair of tickets to give away. The promoter has been kind enough to give a pair of tickets. And we got a little sort of sentence here that we're going to use that fans are going to have to listen for and send in to my to the show's Facebook, One-on-One with Mitch Lafon. Have we decided on what the sentence is going to be?
I think it's I Love Monster Truck.
That's it. I Love Monster Truck. And, of course, check out ilovemonstertruck.com. You know, keep up with the band. It's very important. And, you know, support Canadian.
Yeah, and two free EPs as well on that website, as well as a link to our online store where you can grab cool T-shirts. But, yeah, most importantly, free music.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm glad you mentioned the T-shirts because when I went to the show in February, I wanted an extra large of one of the T-shirts, and for some reason they had sold out, or I forget what it was, but I ended up not being able to get one. Heavy Montreal, I am definitely throwing some money down on a Monster Truck T-shirt.
Awesome. I will make sure to put one aside for you.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks in Montreal.
Me too, man. Thanks, Mitch.
Always a pleasure. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
What you just heard was Mitch's interview with Jeremy Weiderman from Monster Truck. Great interview, Mitch.
Thank you. And of course, don't forget to check out Monster Truck at Heavy Montreal at Parc Jean Drapeau this year. And of course, check out John Five's new album, Careful With That Axe, a great piece of, you know, instrumental music done with Matt Bissonette and Roger Carter.
Nice.
You know, we didn't really speak too much about the David Lee Roth. I know we mentioned it before, but I think we should make a bigger deal out of that. I mean, David Lee Roth has a new album with John Five. It's got to be killer. I mean, David's worked with Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen, and now John Five. He really knows how to pick great guitarists, huh?
Yeah, and John worked with David on that record. I think it was the DLR.
Right, the David Lee Roth band record.
Record that had Betty Page on the cover a number of years back, which was a really good kind of overlooked hard rock record.
It really was.
By David. But guys, I want to remind everybody to check out Russ Dwarf online, facebook.com/killerdwarves, and also on Twitter @Russ Dwarf.
Yes.
Right, Russ?
That's correct, Mark. Thank you for the plug.
And of course, Russ is on there twittering all the time.
I'm twittering all the time. I'm a twit.
And guys, Mitch has a PayPal account if you want to support the show. You can give Mitch a PayPal donation. The account is mitchminute@aol.com, and I encourage everybody to check out talkingmetaldigital.com too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Is there ever going to be a Talking Metal Digital Russ Dwarf in-depth interview?
There will be, for sure. We were talking about that before Russ's accident, and now that you're in the recovery phase, we definitely have to schedule that, Russ.
That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, don't forget to send in that secret sentence to the one-on-one Mitch Lafon Facebook page to have your chance to win those 2 tickets to the Heavy Montreal Festival. Well, another full and fun show, folks.
Excellent job, guys.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, good.